to put something in front of us that is amicable, that Kyle, I think, has gone around and spoken with each of us, and that's their task, right? We're going to cancel the June 30th contract, and we would like to see something that you propose that's in line with what Kyle has suggested. So we would not jump off of the Golf Now platform entirely. We would just use the part of it that kind of helps promote the course. Here's the numbers that I guess I did based upon, and I'm not going to read the email that Sean sent, because since the email that was sent on Friday of last week, which Chuck, Tony, I've sent to you both here today, lots of things have kind of, transpired, and Kyle going back and speaking with each of the board members and also going back to Sean. So this is the number.
I want to make sure that any conversations with board members were separate, independent, without Kyle telling any other board member what conversations he held with another board member.
Made that very clear.
Thank you. I want to make sure that on the record, thank you.
There's no daisy chaining, Kyle.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was the word I used.
Thank you so much, Kyle.
Yes.
So this is pretty interesting. Sean sent me on Friday, or me and Kyle on Friday, the online course revenue generated by their online engine was, and this is this fiscal year, January through May, $535,000. We're at about 2.3 million, so it makes up about 20 to 25% of our overall revenue. This is significant. I think this is a product that would make good sense for us to continue to use. So I don't think we, go separate ways, but we have, I think, some significant issues with the platform that currently exists. Number one, Kyle wants to be able to do some marketing stuff. He wants to own the data of the customers. He wants to be able to more quickly and efficiently change the pricing.
And Jeff Pinder wants to see what it's costing us.
Yeah, Jeff Pinder wants to see what's it costing us, so like this whole trade time thing, I think we may need to exchange that. We may need to go down to one trade time. But I think for the purposes of this and the email that I received from Sean Roberts, I read it and it's kind of like, I think he realizes maybe he didn't dot all the I's and cross all the T's. And, I look at it, it's like, we probably should have, a better process for signing agreements and making sure everything is all the I's are dotted and all the T's are crossed on our side. So it's on both sides, but we need to go to where we need to go. And I think that is to 4 up, So that's what we voted on. I think that's where we're going to go. So now the question is, what do we send back? And I'm happy to do it. Tony, if...
Well, yeah, I guess I think it's a two-step process. I think one is that the board's action would be to authorize sending a termination letter, terminating the agreement dated, or the order form and agreement dated as of 4/16/2024, and send that 30 days prior to the renewal, prior to June 30th.
Yeah.
That's sort of the first action, if that's what the board wishes to take.
I'd like to make that motion that we send a termination letter for the contract, which is in effect, that ends on June 30th, and we do that 30 days prior to that.
Second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Oh, wait, we have some questions.
Yep.
What does that do with the original contract?
Well,
That other contract we're talking about when we just terminated, or we're going to terminate, was that an addendum to the first contract?
no, what I have, and this is, I'm just going by what I have the one dated 4/16/24.
Okay.
I don't know if there's a document earlier than that or not, but this is deemed, under the terms and conditions, the agreement is you execute an order form, and this is the order form, 4/16/24, and you have all these terms and conditions. So this is the one that says it expires June 30th, 2025.
Well, what's the other one?
And then we have two others.
Two others.
One that's dated, let's see, signed March 1st of 2025, that expires August 8th, 2026. And then there's another one dated August 8th, 2024, that expires August 8th of 2026.
How can we have 3 contracts? I don't understand that.
We changed some of the tee times or the,
But that should simply still be under one contract and modified.
And that's what
See, that's just confusing also.
The first one is your actual contract, but follow-ups are just a supplemental work authorization.
Well, not really. That's not how they treat this,
Well,
unfortunately.
I understand
That's how
that,
we
but you have to have a contract, so the initial one.
They consider this the agreement with the order form.
With the link.
So anytime,
So you click on the
anytime
link
that we
and-
asked for something in our favor, they want something in their favor.
Correct.
And what they've done is they're just pushing the timeline.
Yeah, what this,
But they haven't, they shortened the timeline on this third one and
Yeah.
to 25, and then, because that ends in June, the next one's 26. That was the original contract.
no, the original is,
no, no.
Original was 25.
26. The
24.
last two are 26.
The first document I have, and I'm looking at these
25.
this order form is dated April 16, 2024. Expiration of June 30th, 2025.
Okay.
Then,
That's the first one.
That's the first one.
Then in August of 2024, there was, let's bear with me, on August 8th of 2024, we have this order form with expiration of 2 years thereafter, which is August 8th of 2026. Then in March of 2025, there's a third version that has the expiration date of August 8th, 2026. And I think, Adam, correct me if I'm wrong, that what was changed throughout all this was the scope of services they would provide in the compensation. So the question, they may take the position that the subsequent agreements basically modified and revised and amended and superseded the prior ones. So they may try to say, though I don't see language that says that, but they may say, again, this is not the easiest document in the world to read. They may say, okay, fine, that you terminated the one from April of 2024, but we have these other two. As to the other two, I think it's a standalone separate argument that goes, number one was not authorized by the board as far as the last one, because the board did not approve, board did not see this document. And so regardless of what their thinking is, the board did not take action. Secondly, none of these three documents have language required by Florida law for a contract with the governmental
We
body.
can nullify it all.
Well, I think that's our position is, it's not valid. They may want to argue and fuss with us and take us to court on that, but I think, again, that's
And just to be clear.
That's a separate letter, I think.
Yeah, I
That's-
don't know that that's where they want to go.
that's a
You know,
separate, I
but-
think that's a separate, so the first action would be the one you just all approved.
Yes.
Terminate the one, send a notice of termination for the one dated April 16th of 2024. And then on the other two, Adam and Kyle, I think, are going to continue to work with Gulf Now to see how to resolve that, Adam?
Yeah.
The other two, and if not, then the board can say, send them another letter as to those two.
Yeah,
There's-
okay.
okay.
When you modify these services, like you're cutting out, you're going to, which sounds like a really nice system, you don't have to pay them in trade anymore. You could go
Exactly.
a bar,
And
cash.
I've made that clear to them too.
And I think that would probably be better now that you cut out 24-hour phone and this,
Yeah,
and
that's
this.
exactly what I made clear to them, that
That would be better and control your costs.
the board made it very clear we want to get off.
The reason why I did it back then was because I got all this stuff and I thought,
Yeah.
well, we're gonna pay more in cash.
Yeah.
When, you know, it's not a cash outlay, so we'll do trade.
Right.
But,
And we were still struggling financially then, too.
oh yeah.
Well, to your defense, I think a lot of clubs did it, and a lot of clubs are now pulling back. So a lot.
And we were in a lot different financial situation, during your tenure than we are, right now. So I applaud the getting them in. I think it's a great system. I'm very happy with the system.
And to your point, I know in Marley now that I'm social with them, they run about 25 to 30% of their business.
Which was nice.
Golf now. You know, they went away from it.
One time, or how many straight times?
Well, I think they have one.
That's what most that I've talked to have. They have golf now with one
Most
trade.
recent one.
They didn't have two because they have the other POS and the web.
This is the most recent one.
And I think this is as we move forward, we move to Golf Now. I would hate to throw away 20 to 25% of business, which is
Well,
online business.
To your point,
Yeah.
the professional that was there like 18 months ago at Marley did away with it completely. They fell off the cliff,
Yeah.
and then they went back to it.
Yeah.
We don't want to do that.
Well, I hear that to a certain extent. I don't want to think of that business in a silo that they own, and that we own our business.
Yeah.
I mean, they're just a service provider, so I still believe we can drive that 25% one way or another, but we're not going to get rid of them. We're just going to renegotiate.
Well, I think you cut them down to that one trade time. You see how the online goes, and at the same time, you gotta work on your SEO, your social media, all of that stuff, and you could build that up and do away with it, but I think it would be, very bullish to just think you can do everything and walk away.
No, I wouldn't cut them off
Right.
completely. Good.
Okay.
So, Kyle.
We have a motion, and
I think we all
we all
said.
said aye.
Yeah, we all said yes.
No, because you were at a question. So
After that, I voted yes.
Yeah,
I think there was a discussion, I think it is to take the
Let's just, let's confirm.
Okay, so all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay,
There you go.
thank you.
I want to just talk about, now that we're in a forum, what do we want with the system? I want to make sure when we ask, see you, John.
Project?
When we ask Golf Now for something, that we get everyone's feedback, and I don't want to delay
Well, I think-
getting a new agreement in place.
I think we're looking for them to continue to have us on their platform and spotlight us and either pay or have one trade time. Isn't that what we're looking for, Kyle?
Yep, that's exactly right. We want to just stay on the Golf Now platform. You want to be able to go to Golf Now and see Stony Brook on that first page.
Okay.
And like Jeff just said, I believe the spotlight is a trade time requirement.
Okay.
For marketing, so it's one trade time.
And that's all we
we'll be able
need.
to pay for the platform.
Right.
That is what Sean Roberts had communicated to me as well.
Okay.
So I believe that's what the proposal they're working on for us is.
Okay.
As far as the technology goes, that technology includes the booking engine for your personal website. That includes your per point of sale system for inside the pro shop, your inventory, and all the accounting that goes with that. One of the main reasons, again, we're picking 4UP. We consulted with Jeff Pinder, our controller over at Rathel, and we know that 4UP's system directly integrates. There is just no issues or nonsense with it that we're currently dealing with the Golf Now situation. I'm sure he even outlined in that email that they really have a special person doing this really special task at the end of every month to make sure our books look okay. So that's the technology we're looking to switch to, why we have to get off Golf Now there.
Okay.
So, Tony, can I work with you? I want to send a notice of cancellation from these people, but I don't want it to come from a lawyer.
Okay.
I don't want to burn any bridges.
I will work on the draft. I have meetings all tomorrow, won't be backing out
That's
until
fine.
2 o'clock.
I'll draft one and,
There you go.
I would just,
is that okay?
If you can send it to me, then I can have fun with it.
yeah, nullify
Thank
all
you.
current contracts, and we want to discuss renegotiating
Okay.
something along that line.
I'll look forward to your draft. Again, I think it needs to be clear and unequivocal that we're terminating the one dated April 16th of 2024.
Right.
Regardless of what else may go in there, and that whether or not we want to let them know that to the extent they may try to assert the other agreements are in place, we reserve all rights to address those. I'm sorry?
Guarantee they will.
Oh,
You
sure.
think they will, Phil? No.
100%. Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean,
No, I promise you.
They want our trade time.
I would just let them know, we're looking to redo this whole thing, basically.
Yep.
let's keep the door open while,
And not have 3 open contracts.
yeah.
Yes. Okay. Kyle, anything else?
That's all I got.
Thanks, Kyle.
Thank you, Kyle.
Thank you.
All right, Phil Simonson?
We haven't had a meeting since we were waiting for those 2 issues.
Okay,
be settled. We're going to have a meeting next month, but we do have to talk about a couple things.
okay.
Chuck, when we go out for a bond, how long is it going to take?
Once we settle in on what we need from financing perspective, I'll just need to check and make sure we still have that gap available under our original validation. In other words, if you validated 60 million and over the years we've only issued 30 million, you still have another 30 million. So that helps save time, probably about 3 months out of the equation. So as long as we haven't exceeded that and have to go through validation, we can probably turn a bond in 90 days.
Okay.
And there's two things that while we're going through this, we have not included in bids, the wall on 10 and 18, and the washrooms. The only thing that's happening right now is that if we ever get rain, John and Gordy are supposed to ride the golf course, so John can point out all the wet areas to Gordy, because we're gonna have to replace all that dirt and everything else. And that's about it. The two things that we talked about earlier, we're getting Russ on board and Mark with the 13th hole is what's holding it up right now.
Chuck, I know sometime back you were talking about circling back with us with a proposal that Wild Blue was doing with some of their lake stuff.
For retaining walls?
Yeah.
We're not that far along yet, we're not far out though. We're
Okay.
expecting 90% of plans in the next 30 days, which
Okay.
will put us in a position to go out to do our bidding, because we have to do sealed bidding, obviously, it's multiple $1-million job.
Do you happen to have like other proposals as well, like the riprap or anything like I just,
That's part of that proposal, is
Okay.
revetment, so
okay,
that's a part of that. And
Okay.
I got order of magnitude pricing on both of those, actually, if you want them, but they're generally at least 30% inflated, so it's a good budget number, but you're gonna come in
under that, okay.
way under, should be way under. It's called Engineers CYA.
Yeah.
Who do we look at? So you give us plans to redo the bathrooms. Who do we go out to?
Bathrooms.
Are we talking about
I might have
pro shop
some-
bathrooms or
Yes.
bathrooms on the course?
Bathrooms
shop.
By the pro shop.
Pro shop?
I may have some plans for the bathrooms, original plans.
Didn't we?
Jeff
had some.
Jeff had some. Yeah, totally.
We couldn't find them.
I couldn't find those.
Yeah, he gave them to me, I gave them back to him. They should be in the office there. Like, they are
Kyle couldn't
I
find them.
literally couldn't find them.
like that big rolled.
No, they weren't in
What
there.
I gave them. was
Do you
all
have
I
them?
I think I do.
Okay.
The original clubhouse ones?
No, these are a proposal from a contractor, Jeff knows.
To redo the bathrooms.
Oh, I'm sorry, no, I thought you meant like the original
The old
structure
house.
plans for the bathroom.
Because those are the ones where we were going to do the
Yeah, I
pavilion,
know.
where the tent is.
They don't know where, Kyle couldn't find
I
them.
could not find those in that office.
We went to look for them, can't find them.
I found some.
Do we know who he used? I mean,
He gave me all of that, I may have.
I think he was sitting right here.
I'll dig in
He was
there.
sitting
Okay,
right
did you
here.
look?
Yeah.
Do you remember?
well, if we can find out who he used and did it,
About
I'm
what,
sure they have.
when it
a copy.
was?
That was right before Ian.
Okay.
That's in 20.
So if it was handed out at a meeting here and I actually had it, then provide a copy of it, it'd be part of the public record.
So somewhere 2010,
Somewhere early part of 2020?
2020?
2022.
22,
2020, okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because he was here talking to us, and I can remember seeing the plans. And, because we were going to do the pavilion, and we were going to bring, where the current doors are, we were going to move those over to the windows,
Right.
and
And
bring the
enclose.
bathrooms out,
Yeah.
and enclose all
We're
that,
only gonna have
so.
one entrance.
Yeah.
No, you have two, you still have to have two entrances, so the entrance where the doors are currently,
Why do you have to have two entrances?
you have to have, in case of a fire, you have to have two-way in and out. So from the pro shop, where the, yes, you do, where the back doors are, the doors would be moved over to where the windows are, so you'd be coming in there.
I remember it.
Yeah. So, but yes, you do have to have two doors.
Yeah, we definitely need doors on the back side of the building.
Yeah.
For sure.
Well, it's
The
not only,
Duffy's is gonna use it, utilize it from the patio, they can't really access it now, so.
no, and the thing is, in case of, you always have to,
I could have swore the door that goes into Duffy's from the pro shop was the second door.
no, that's all blocked off now. That's sealed and closed, because that's
That's their
theirs.
office, isn't it?
Now, that's their storage room.
Yeah.
That, you can't get through there now. Well, that's their rental spot, Phil. We used it when we,
Do they use it?
it's storage space.
Where they have their like drink station thing.
No, actually,
No,
it's their storage area.
The storage. The
That's
drink,
all their
yeah, the
storages.
drink is like just behind it,
Yeah.
the drink dispenser and
So,
the ice machine.
Bags.
And that's why we were moving the doors over to where the
Yeah,
windows are.
if ever you're in Duffy's and you're walking back towards the bathroom, look up at the ceiling, and you will see there's like a door, and then the drop ceiling, there's like a gap there. That is their storage area. That is what backs up to your door.
Right. And we can't get in and out of there. So, with that being said, yes, we have to move the doors over. And then where the doors are, they were gonna cut out and
Wasn't it like a $500,000?
All his bids were very expensive.
It
Yeah, the
was.
bid itself
Seemed about right.
$75.
yeah, and the reason that we stopped was because
Cheap now.
they said, with Ian and all the building, it's gonna at least triple, so we just put it all aside at that point because we knew we couldn't afford it to go for a bond at that price, or wait as long as they wanted us to wait, so that's why we put it. But Phil, if you could check to see if you have those.
Yeah, well, I'll dig in my office.
Yeah.
There's a couple of options, right? And this isn't, I thought that this might be a cheap and cheerful way of doing it, but it's not great. If we open up the door from our pro shop to the bathrooms, right, their lease is coming to an end here, right? And we just say we're reclaiming that area, and we put in kind of some high-end glass doors that can be locked, so the bathrooms then become communal. They become ours or Duffy's.
They're not gonna go that route.
We would need to change the lease, right? I think from a commercial standpoint and like an accountability standpoint, whose bathroom it is, whose mess it is to clean up, all that stuff, it's gonna not be a fun conversation, right? But we don't really have even enough space, even with that bump out, lift stations. It starts getting really, really expensive if you try to put the bathrooms, say where the existing tent is, and make that like a snack shack stroke bathroom.
Comfort station area.
Okay.
Well, we looked at that with Andy Scott, and what killed that was a lift station.
Yeah, they're expensive, man. They're gonna be super expensive.
They were gonna do it out by the,
Right, but neither one here.
yeah.
We all agree that's done.
It has to be
No,
done.
I don't,
And yes, I think we could ask Duffy's, but I would bet they're not gonna go for it. What are you gonna do in the morning when, or, when they don't open till 11?
the proposal we had that Jeff brought, it made a lot of sense.
It did.
It made a ton of sense. It basically doubled the size of the bathrooms, the current bathrooms.
Right.
Expanded out, it reconfigured, it utilized our current space.
Right, it actually
But it-
gave 3 bath toilets to the ladies' room and an additional urinal and a toilet to the men's room.
We kept the snack shop, the
Coming
snack
in
shop
the other door.
reconfigured a little bit, new door, and then that whole enclosed, or that whole covered area right now is enclosed.
Right. So, I think we need to relook at those plans because, and we can ask Duffy's, but I would highly doubt that Duffy's is gonna go for it. I don't think they
If we
would.
can't find them, what's our next step?
Then we call Jeff and ask him to contact.
I just texted him.
Okay.
Who knows who did it?
You probably remember who did it. Who did it would probably still have those plans.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Guaranteed.
Because it wasn't that long ago.
No, that was 3 years.
Yeah.
We paid for those plans too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they got them.
so,
It might cost us to reprint them, but they have them, I'm sure.
and we don't need all of them. We don't need everything
That's
because that
right.
was a whole
Just the
different
building.
thing. Right, so. All right, Phil Simonson, if you could keep on Jeff and get those for us, thank you. And Bill Olive, if you can look and see if you've got them hidden under your desk.
Yeah, I will.
Thank you. Okay. Phil Allo,
All right.
Common Grounds.
Common Grounds, I think John covered most of that.
John covered that, and I'm going to be working with Dorman, so we can probably move Common Grounds to me.
Okay.
Chuck, you can move Common Grounds to me on the next.
So with Duffy's, I spoke with the GM, Casey, a few weeks ago about trying to figure out a way to drive some business their way and possibly having them modify a menu, maybe advertising on our GPS system to drive business in there, possibly create an app that golfers can then, and I guess this is all contingent upon whether or not we figure out what to do with the snack bar, whether we're going to move forward with it and continue to lose money, or we just let Duffy's take it over and we do something else in the morning, like just a beverage cart. So, in my opinion, that's the way we should go, is just beverage cart and then drive business to Duffy's, with them being our business partner. If we did that, we could utilize all that space in the snack bar to expand the bathrooms even more, open up more access to the patio, and drive even more business to Duffy's. So they're open to the discussion, certainly modifying a menu for, golf stuff like hot dogs, et cetera, that golfers can grab pretty quickly. I'd like to have a meeting with her and Lisa to officially talk about that. And I think in season they need to have a bar set up on the patio outside. They need to hire a bartender, have a bartender out there, or someone with a bell or what have you to notify golfers are coming up, they want to order a drink, to try to make them understand that when those guys turn, they need to turn and go, instead of sitting in Duffy's and waiting for a drink. So if there's a way to try to speed up that process, those are some things we need to talk through with them and let them know about the flow of the traffic for golf. So we'll have further discussion with them, and then, all this is kind of contingent upon what we decide to do with our snack bar, so.
I think in the interim, we're going to have to keep it until it gets finalized. And the thing is, if we chose to use that for, as part of the bathrooms, we need to make sure that there's a room for the refrigerators and stuff for their drinks, because the refrigerators are in there now. And where we're going to store all the stuff. So that's just something to think about, because I don't think there's much more room in the cart barn for it. I'm sorry?
Oh, for the beverage cart.
The beverage cart, not only the beverage cart, but all the supplies.
We have our little, and we have a corner that's locked with all that in the cart barn.
Yeah, but then we'd also need a refrigerator to keep the stuff cold. And if we're doing that, do we keep the ice machine there, or do we put the ice machine that they use someplace else? So those are just things to think about while we're relocating things.
Yeah, I'd like to talk with the architect and figure out what their thoughts are, and give them some ideas of how, I want them to come in and get some ideas from us about a couple of different ideas of renderings that they can give us to help best utilize that space. So.
All right, well, let's see what the already done plans are and how we can work with that. Okay, very good. Thank you.
And in regards to the fencing around the community to the south side and to the east a little, the fence company I spoke with this morning, the permit is in process. They should have that by the end of the week. And they said once they get that and once the debris is all cleared, that they can get in there and install. It'll take them 20 to 30 days.
Okay.
So we just need Jeff Key to make sure he's
So this could be done by mid-July?
Could be, yeah.
Okay.
So we need to make sure that Jeff Key's got that on his schedule to clear all the debris away from the fence so that they can get in there without impediment and get it done.
Okay, sounds good.
How do we make sure, the fence is done to our satisfaction?
It's part of the plan.
Who walks it, who's inspecting it, who's signing it off?
It's a good question.
Like, I just know, like,
The village is gonna walk it and make sure it's done according to the
It's all part of
plan.
the
that was part of the
permit,
permit, So,
but like, my point is like, we're doing this to help keep, critters out or people out of the preserves, and like, if there's a gap, just one gap, that defeats the whole purpose,
Right.
And it's a long,
10,000 feet.
10,000 feet, yes.
2-mile jump.
We can inspect it and see if any obvious workmanship.
Like, I would be up for like paying somebody to just take a time-lapse camera and walk the whole thing so that we have documentation of the whole thing. And so that we all don't need to go out there, but we could watch a, 5 or 15-minute video that's time-lapse and we can see that it's good, it's secure, it's,
Think the contractor would be willing to do that, Phil?
I do.
I would think so.
Yeah, he would.
Because it helps cover his butt as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure, yeah.
And that kind of goes back to what I mentioned on the last meeting, because we have the fence at the end of my street and the fence on Worcester, that they don't really they would keep us out of it, I guess, is that
Yeah.
where we're going? Because on the end of my street, it's probably 300 yards of fence, and on both sides, it's wide open.
Yeah, well, actually, it does go down 3 a little bit, right? But not very long.
Yeah, I mean, it's,
It terminates maybe 200 feet.
right, and that fence doesn't, the other fence that goes behind 2,
It doesn't go
green,
along.
it doesn't go all the way.
It just stops right there.
It stops right there, there's that huge gap.
Yeah.
And then, it's like this, then the fence starts again over, behind 3 T-box?
Yeah,
So you
so,
have all that preserve that comes out here.
So to
And then
Adam's-
here's my fence, so you got all the,
I just don't know what we're, like, I want to make sure we got a fence that keeps the fort safe.
okay, so to that point, you will always have an open access
Yeah.
point at Two Bridge.
Yeah.
Because that leads into the biggest part of the 250 acres that Stony Brook has property for mitigation, and that is a preserve area.
Yeah.
And it starts behind, so that is Austin Keene right there, as soon as you cross Two Bridge to 3T, I think that's Austin Keene, little cul-de-sac.
That little,
So that, the bridge part is open, but
Right.
it's closed behind Two Green, it's closed behind, but there is that corridor
Right.
that.
And that corridor comes all the way up to Langholm.
Yeah.
And at Langholm, we've got about a 300-yard
Right.
fence that really doesn't, something that came in through the preserve can get in on either side. So I guess, are we doing that fence more to keep us out than, because it's not really going to keep anything
Right.
from coming in. And the same on Worcester, which is actually inside of our, community. It just runs along those houses on the east side. Again, is that just more
Yeah, because that.
keep us out? Because it's not going to keep anything.
To your point there, that fence ends right at the first house on the left of
Right.
Rochester, and it only goes around behind 16 Green and stops.
So his scope is to replace the existing fence. And if we do anything less than that, it's going to cost less than that, most likely. So if we just tell him, hey, we don't want to fence this area, but whatever is existing is what he's going to replace.
I don't know if that's enough. I want a fence going all the way along the south that keeps us out and animals.
I don't know if
Keeps
you're
us in.
necessarily allowed to do that, that's because of, you have to have corridors, you have to have like access corridors for wildlife too. That may be a reason why that's open like that.
oh, okay, so you do have to allow for.
So, that's.
I do think most of it is to keep people out of the preserve.
Whether or not wildlife to hop, come
I
over.
think that's the legal side of
It
it.
was,
Chuck,
yeah.
is a lot of the fencing on the preserve areas to keep humans out of the preserve for the most part?
I couldn't tell you what the original intent was, because I've got so many other communities that have large preserves with no fences.
Yeah.
You place a sign every 300 feet or so, it says conservation area, stay out. That's the extent of keeping humans out.
Yeah.
Sometimes they pay attention to it, sometimes they pick up the
So in this
sign and
case,
throw it away.
yeah, in this case, we've got a dilapidated fence we just need to repair and replace.
Right.
That's really where we are, where we started this whole
That's it.
thing.
But like, bear issues
I
are
can't
on
imagine that
Austin
you could take
Keene
that fence away
and the
without
area of
disturbing.
Brixham Run Loop where, like, I see the repeated posts. That is like one of the spots. And then somewhere on Braxfield Loop,
We have them on our road, yep.
they're getting in somewhere there too. I mean, like,
Well, there's no fence we're gonna keep a bear out, just so you know.
Even the
especially
6-foot
when
fences
it's
you
not,
keep a bear
you know,
out.
when the door's wide open, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
So the bears could potentially be getting in at this little corridor that I'm telling you
Yeah.
about, in between 2 and 3. I know for sure they're on the one cul-de-sac on the west side of Brixham, they're coming over, because we've had emails from them. And then I think they're getting in over here behind 14, par 3, because that fence is all torn down.
Right.
Gotta be for bears. That'd be how they'd be getting in over here to Braxfield.
And I
most
think
likely.
with that, I mean, the 270 acres we have back there, with all the building they're doing, all they're doing is getting
Pushing.
more and
Yeah,
more
they're just doing
animals.
Well, I
And we're-
think once we get Jeff Key to clear it, to prep for the construction, we need to look at those spaces, just walk it.
Yeah, just walk the spaces, and if we
And see
have
if we need to
to,
add a few hundred extra feet.
yeah, but again, we need to find out if they left them open for, as John was saying, wildlife, or whether, I don't know. But I think we probably have a greater issue because we have such a large preserve. Where if you look at some of the others, they probably don't have as big a preserve at the back of their property. Some of them do?
I've got a number of them that have hundreds of acres of preserve.
Okay.
Yeah, I've
But
seen,
then, at the same time, Wild Blue has got probably 1,500 acres of preserve out there. They do have 8-foot fences, and bears do go through it. And it's not at a gate. Just go right in between 2 poles, knock it down, and keep on going.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the hogs are what I'm more concerned about, and I've seen the videos of them on this lake on the south side of Braxfield Loop, kind of real close to that bathroom we've got in between 14 and 15, and then I've seen them also on the south side of Brixham Loop, you know?
Well, sandy soil, they're gonna burn under it, even though we have tension wire in the contract. The fence is gonna be tight, but